Let's do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful, for the faithful. I'm Peoples of the Edmonton Journal, and I'm here today with Bruce McCurdy. Hey, Bruce.
Hey, David. How are you doing today?
Good. I was doing a little bit better, not so long ago, Bruce, when the Oilers had a 3-goal lead and then a 2-goal lead and then another 2-goal lead. And this team has got some defensive issues, Bruce. They just cannot hold down a lead. They can score all right, but man, they're hurting on defense. Anyway, they lost 6-5 in overtime to the Avalanche of Colorado. Rough game to lose that way, but them's the breaks. This is our 2 good things, 2 bad things, and 2 numbers podcast. Bruce, what is your good thing?
No, I'm going to go with Oilers penalty killing. It gave them a chance in this game. The Oilers came into this game shorthanded with only 19 skaters when Evander Kane came up with an upper body injury. They were already missing. Klim Costin, who was sick, and he's still sick. So they called up Devon Shore, but then Evander Kane went down and out, and that was that. So they were shorthanded, and the refs must have gone, "Oh, Oilers are shorthanded. I know how to deal with that. Let's make them shorthanded." And so they started calling a series of penalties against the Oilers, 4 in a row in the first period, 2 right in a row to Warren Foegele, who had otherwise a very strong game. And they were able to kill those off. Then there was a third one with like 2:01 to go in the first period. 18 minutes flat, it was called. Exactly 2 minutes to go. So they had to kill that off to get out of the first period with the 1-0 lead. And then they killed yet a 4th penalty in the first half of the second period. And so Colorado had 4 power plays in the part of the game where they had 0 goals. And only after Edmonton started staying out of the penalty box did the goals start flying into the net left and right. Oilers lost this game at even strength. And I mean, I think all the goals on both teams came at even strength because, of course, Edmonton had 1 power play the entire game because they were, after all, playing the Colorado Lady Bings that have led the league 5 years in a row for fewest penalties. And so it was today. The penalty kill got the job done. Campbell made some saves, but I thought Ryan McLeod had an outstanding number of shifts on the PK. He was really flying around, getting a stick in good spots, making good clearances or short passes to teammates in position to clear it, breaking things up. Matthias Janmark led the team in at least the forwards in penalty kill ice time and kept a clean sheet, and he had an excellent game in all aspects today. So shout out to that unit for getting their part of the job done.
Yeah, we only charted 1 5-alarm chance on the power play against the Oilers. And a lot of the grade A shots, I think we maybe charted 4. A lot of them were kind of outside one-timers, which do go in usually,
Sometimes,
20, at least, 20% plus
Mm-hmm.
of the time. But a lot of the grade A's they got were at the lesser end of the percentage scale, like closer to 20% shots than a 5-alarm shot is 33% plus, and they only got 1 of those. So they did a good job. I thought there was lots of individual performances from the Oilers tonight that were very strong. Warren Foegele and Philip Broberry, Cody Ceci with a couple of great pinches. Leon Draisaitl had his best game in a long time. And some great physical play from Draisaitl, mashing Joss Manson and JT Compher in different plays. So there was lots of good, Bruce.
Mm-hmm.
And
several great defensive plays from Draisaitl in this game as well.
Yeah, he was fine in this game.
There
really
was with the stick.
The best sequence of the Oilers, I thought. They come out early in the second period, and they have a shift that lasts almost a full minute in the Colorado zone. And I counted 18 different players touch the puck in this sequence, 18 different Oilers. And it was they were able to get a full line shift while this was going on. So they started with Nuge and Dry and Hyman, and they end up with McLeod, Fogel, and I'm not sure who was the third forward out there at the end. And they start out with Barry and Kulak, and by the end it's CC and Nurse out there. So they shift off everybody, and they just are putting the boots to Colorado. And there was no less than 3-1 battles, hard physical battles that the Oilers won in this sequence. So it had some good puck protection and some good passing, but Kulak, Nugent Hopkins, and Nurse just before he makes the pass, he wins. He really does a hard puck protect to keep hold of the puck and win the puck essentially in a 50-50 encounter. And then he shakes off the player and makes an absolutely gorgeous pass. In some ways it was one of Darnell Nurse's finest offensive moves that I've seen him make, and something that he should think about a little bit more, because he's often able to take the puck fast down the ice, up the ice. And when he gets there, he still doesn't know what to do. Well, just puck protecting behind the net might be a good idea. And that's what he did on this shift. He just did a fantastic job before threading the puck to Warren Foegele, who comes in and scores a beauty of a goal, just slams it home. That was a fantastic virtuous cycle, and ended up with the Oilers' second goal of the game. And they looked like they were... You never, like with the Oilers, like now, like they were up 3-0, right? It's the most dangerous lead in hockey.
Not for long, they weren't.
At least if you're the Edmonton Oilers, not for anybody else in particular. But the Oilers, they just, between the goaltending and their defensive play, they just can't, and their decision making, they can't shut it down, and they're just unable to do so. Let's get into our bad things then, Bruce. What is your
57 seconds, David? It was how long the 3-goal lead lasted. Very next shift. They couldn't consolidate that 3-goal lead for even a minute.
And that was a tough goal against, right? Like it's like no fewer than, Nathan McKinnon kind of cuts up into the high slot and takes a shot. There was like 5 players screening Jack Campbell, and it seemed to go through pretty much all of them, each and every one of them. And it didn't hit any of them.
Comfer got credit for it. Now I see.
Oh, he did.
He must have changed it, so he must have touched it. But 3 Oilers were doing a very good job of screening their own goalie and not of blocking the shooting lane, apparently. So anyway,
What's your bad thing, Bruce?
Yeah, well, there's lots to choose from. I mean, the 5-3 after the disputed icing, the 5-4 where Campbell had the puck seemingly frozen for several seconds, and the whistle-happy refs decided that wasn't a whistle, and then Campbell, anyway, I didn't like how he played it in the end. But I'm going to go with the tying and winning goals because they both occurred on an old favorite of mine, David, defensive zone faceoffs. And the first one was Derek Ryan. At least it wasn't quite a clean loss. It took the guy sort of 2 swipes to pull it back to the point, and then he passed it into the middle. And the guy fired a shot from outside. That was Comfer again. And Lehkonen was right in front of Nurse, who got the puck tipped off of Lehkonen's stick, off of Nurse's shin pad. It bounced off of that, off the post and in, like just a perfect bounce for Colorado. But the fact remains they lost the draw, and Nurse did not tie up the guy's stick in front of the net that got a piece of the puck. So that probably took, 5-6 seconds after the draw, maybe 7, not much more than that. And then in overtime, they had a sequence where Jack Campbell made it seemed like 4 goal line saves in a row off of McKinnon, who got around McDavid and burst in alone on net. And I think one of the shots may have hit the post, and Campbell might have stopped the other 3 and finally pulled it out with his glove on the goal line. And so after going with different forwards in the overtime, like Woodcroft went with McDavid and Nugent Hopkins, then Draisaitl and Hyman. They got McLeod out there for a shift, but he had Draisaitl and McDavid out for a shift with about 1:20 to go. And that shift ended with that play on net, 40 seconds to go. And these are his 2 face-off men, and now they're both on the bench. No timeout called. And frankly, I question that a little bit. The Colorado's guys are resting on the bench too, but no timeout call. And Ryan Nugent-Hopkins is sent out there to take the face-off, who's 0 for 2 on the afternoon and a noted poor performer in the face-off circle. And sure enough, he got cleaned up on the dot by J.D. Compher. Colorado got possession. I need to watch this play again. There may have been a pick play in there, and Ranton goes around, gets wide on Nurse. Campbell challenges him. He goes wide and he roofs it. And it's a great play by Ranton. But it all again came off of D zone, face off, loss, bam, shot, puck in the net. 2 more today. Was that like 5 this week? Is it like 1,000 this season? Like, when the hell is I going to do something about this problem? Like, it's a serious problem. Like, easily double digits of goals over the course of the season off of lost faceoffs in your own end. And those are supposedly the plays where if you lose the draw, all your guys are in position. It shouldn't be too much of a problem. But for Edmonton Oilers, big adjective problem.
The last 3 seasons, Nugent Hopkins' face-off percentage has been 45.6, 40.7, and 44.8. His career average is 44.2. I think that's a coaching error, Bruce.
Yep, I do too.
You do not have
your there at that point.
Yeah, you don't have your 40% face-off guy out for a critical face-off like that. You don't. Yeah. Now, there was a very clever pick play. Twice Nurse got picked off by the guy, and they were clearly using the screen. That was a set play, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Where they're or at least they're looking for it. They're trained to look for that play. And I noticed it earlier in the overtime
the refs
as well.
were too.
Yeah, the Oilers never do that pick play. The Oilers want to just make the pretty passes. This is more of the cerebral style of scoring a goal, and it really worked because Nurse got picked off on that play. He in avoiding the body of the Colorado player who was picking him, Rantanen got around him. He wouldn't have got around Nurse otherwise. And Rantanen then he's slicing hard across the slot. It's a very, very difficult play for the goalie, and Rantanen puts it in like he's an ace goal scorer, and he did it. They were lucky to get that far, though. I mean, the McKinnon play, they had four goal line stops, which each one of them was kind of a miracle. And
bought him an extra 5 seconds, David.
It did, Bruce.
I thought it would get him to the shootout, but it didn't even do that.
Yeah, I love it when the Oilers score on the Californian, which is a point shot that finds its way in. And the Oilers did get a goal that way earlier in the game. They, I think it was their 5th goal, actually, was the Californian, if I'm not mistaken.
4th. The Barry shot?
Yeah, the Barry shot. That's right. Mm-hmm. And that was a beautiful stop and pass by Devon Shore.
Yes.
And Derek Ryan was in front of the net, and Barry put that in. Hey, that works. It's a great play if you can execute it, and it's tough to see it against you, but they did execute it themselves, Colorado there. Bruce, my bad thing is the 3rd goal. The Oilers are up 4-2 heading into the 3rd period. What you got to do is get through the first couple minutes. Those first 2 minutes of the period, they're just crucial. Like these are big moments in the game. And this is known to everyone in hockey. Ken Dryden wrote about it with great eloquence in his book, The Game, how, the Montreal had these 2 guys, Doug Jarvis and Bob Gainey, they could send out there who would shut things down. This is a missing element on the Oilers, although I do think that they have those players. I think Matthias Janmark would be a good pick to be out there at that time of the ice. Maybe Jesse Puljujarvi, who's an underrated defensive player. Apparently has a low hockey IQ. Well, what I see is a guy who has a high defensive hockey IQ and is very responsible. They like going with their bigger guns at all times, essentially. The Oilers, that's their strategy, go with the big guns. And, I'm not sure when they need a goal, yeah. But when you're trying to protect the lead, I think they should go in a different direction. Anyway, this play is foobar, Bruce. And it starts, as you point out, there's a contested icing call, so it ends up in Edmonton's end. And what that means is Colorado sends out its top line, and the Oilers have Tyson Barrie out there with Kulak, and they don't want that matchup. But what they do, Bruce, is they force a line change. Cody Ceci heads out on the ice. We're lucky it wasn't too many men on the ice, frankly. The Oilers shoot the puck out. They get it out high out of their end, and Tyson Barrie goes in, and you think it's going to go to the other end, but it doesn't, because the Colorado player knocks it down at his own blue line. And inexplicably, I think for no good reason, Tyson Barrie shifts off. It's not the right moment to do it. And because of that, it suddenly is wide open on the attack for the Avs. I think if Barrie stays out there, this play doesn't happen. It just totally distorts the Oilers, because suddenly Kulak and Nugent Hopkins, to fill the spot where that defenseman was going to be, they move up into the play and abandon their positions. And suddenly, who's shooting down the wing on the other side where Kulak should be is Nathan MacKinnon. And he unleashes a shot, a hard shot, but Jack Campbell should have that shot. Now, it may have been, I thought I heard a tick from Brett Kulak's stick as he's reaching to stop that shot that may have deflected that shot. But still, Campbell seems somewhat out of position, because there's no one coming down the other wing. There's no pass for MacKinnon to make. If he's reading the play, there's just one play, him to shoot. So you don't give him the
short side.
The short side. And that short side was wide open. So even if there was a tick, he probably should have had it. I mean, Campbell's play on the goal, the fourth goal too, where he should have had his, I don't know, like it was just clumsy where he couldn't freeze that puck against the post, couldn't figure it away. I thought the refs, a whistle would have been nice in that sequence. It was, when you look at it again, you can see the puck the whole time, but it is frozen. But you can see
under
it.
His pad.
It's under his pad.
Under the flap of his pad down by his toe, but that apparently isn't frozen.
Wouldn't have been crazy Trons to call a whistle there. It would have been normal NHL play, but they leave it there and the guy just starts hacking away.
5 seconds later, yeah. I was there a long time.
It was very
there a hell of a lot longer than it was in Campbell's glove when he tried to move it in overtime. They blew the whistle right quick that time.
Yeah.
Now
we get a quick whistle.
These are those little tiny things, but they all sure seem to stack up one way these last little while. And I'm pretty grumpy about it, as you can probably tell. But
Bruce, I was
Edmonton didn't get many calls in this game either, and that's.
I can tell you're grumpy. I was about to change my number to size per minute, heavy size per minute from Bruce in this podcast. Oh man, it's been a rough spell for the Oilers, man. And you just knew if they went to the shootout, they were going to lose too. So, they just can't score. Like they can't score in the OT. Maybe Nurse, maybe not have Nurse out there. I don't know. Like Bouchard, I thought had a pretty good game, but he was he was one of the culprits when they did get the 4 shots right on the goal line. He got beat by MacKinnon on that rush there too. So I don't know. I don't have any answers. Numbers. What's your number?
Okay, we're there now, are we?
There now, yeah.
Yeah, okay. I'll go with 13. That's the number of goals Edmonton Oilers scored this week in 3 games, and they weren't able to win a single game with 13 goals, 4, 4, and 5. And it was never enough to win a game because they gave up 4 with 2 shootout losses and 6. And so 14 is the other number, 14 goals against. And I mean, the shootout losses will just fold in there. But the sad fact is that 4 goals should be more than enough to win a game in the NHL. 3 should be enough. For Oilers, the magic number has been 4. But not this week. And there was just too many, in the last 2 games, same thing. It was 4-2 after the second period. And both times they gave in a bit of a softie in the first 2 minutes of the third, and that was game on. And I guess the Lafreniere goal on Friday wasn't so much a softie as it was just a culmination of some weak defensive play by Edmonton. And the one today, like that MacKinnon shot, like just come on, make a frickin' save. Like Jack Campbell, like he played all 3 of these games. He got all those goals in support, and he couldn't win one of those games. And it's
Puliar.
It's not all on him. I mean, the defense has got some pretty serious issues, and I tell you what, they sure missed Vincent Desharnais this week.
They sure have, but he's been too sick to play. I understand.
Well, lots of guys sick, and they were hanging on for dear life the last 2 games, and that probably had something to do with it. But in the end, they couldn't. I mean, they hung on for their 1 point. And you'd like to think out of 3 games, you'd get the extra point, at least 1 out of 3. Like, is that too much to ask? And then you have a plus week. But nope, 3 out of 3, all lost. 8 out of 8, 8 in a row now. That's sort of a bonus number. 31 minutes and 37 seconds of 3-on-3 or even 4-on-3 for the Oilers hockey without a goal for this potent highest scoring team in the league with with a great past overtime record, and they just can't get it done. And I just don't get it. I don't get it. Why can't they put the puck in the net? 3-on-3, like 30 minutes is an eternity. 3-on-3.
Do they have any good chances? They didn't have any 5-alarm chances in overtime, not one. Draisaitl and McDavid each had a grade A shot in overtime.
Yeah.
Bursting in and trying to do it on their own. Bruce, this isn't my number, but I'm going to sneak in an extra number.
Sure. I do that all the time.
Shore played 7:30 and Puljujarvi played 8:15. This is not a tired team ridden with the flu. Those guys were playing well. Shore was playing very well when he was out there. And can't they find, some extra, just one more shift a period for each of those guys? And wouldn't that help a little bit?
Yes.
Yeah. And this whole thing about riding the Stars all the time, they're not great defensive hockey players, is the honest to God truth about McDavid and Draisaitl. And I can see when you're down a goal, obviously you go with those guys. I mean, but maybe to start and end the period, you go to Ryan McLeod, Warren Foegele, and Matthias Janmark, and you say, listen, guys, we have a problem on this team. In these key moments, we're not coming through defensively. And we've been going, and this is the part you don't say out loud, is our big guys who we've been counting on, we really can't count on them. They're exhausted as much as anything, I think. And we're asking too much of them, is the truth. And this isn't their specialty, but this can be your specialty. This is what you can do to help us get the playoffs and win in the playoffs, is become our shutdown line. And I think those Matthias Janmark is the best defensive forward I've seen on the Oilers in a long time. And Warren Foegele is a rugged customer. He's a decent defensive hockey player. I don't see him make glaring errors. He's not like a Zach Kassian out there. I think he's even willing to block shots. And Ryan McLeod is fast. He's big. And if you say your job is to play defense, I think he can do that. So I think I brought this up earlier in the year. I'm bringing it up again. And I think it's the way to go, because I think this is one of the issues, is players who are too tired and players who are being used outside of their specialty. It's just not their mindset. You put out McDavid and these other guys, they're going to try to score a goal. That's what they do. And I just think, get those defensive specialists, get that line. And if you get that line, that could be huge for the Edmonton Oilers, because then you put that line out there, you start to heart match them against one of their top line or the top line of the other team when you can. And suddenly you got those 2 other lines with all those great players against lesser lines. And maybe the coach doesn't feel he can trust those players in that role. Maybe it would upset the apple cart on the team. Like, these players expect to be out there in the last minute of the game, in the last minute of the first minute of the first of every period. Maybe you just starting the games with that line and ending each period with that line. You don't, but anyway, that's what I would like to see. My number, Bruce, is in the last 10 games, Bruce, the Oilers have 4 wins, 1 loss in regulation, and 5 loser points from overtime and shootout losses. 5 loser points in 10 games. And Bruce, we were complaining earlier this year about the lack of loser points on the Oilers. Mm-hmm. We have been rewarded. We have been given an abundance of loser points. So the hockey gourds have shut us up. And it's raining loser points. It is raining. We have a bounty of loser points.
My complaint has been more in the lack of 3-point games. that in the long run, the strategy is best to play 3-point games, but with the assumption being that you win one of them once in a damn while. If you lose them all, you're going nowhere. It's the same as win one, lose one. But if you win one, lose one in overtime, you get 3 points instead of 2. But if you go into overtime, you just go lose one, lose one, lose one, lose one, lose one, lose one, you're going nowhere. And I'm just baffled at how this team with this manpower can lose 8 in a row. I can't explain it. I can't even get the words out of my mouth how inexplicable it is to me.
It is surprising. I don't have any. I mean, we'd have to look at the overtimes to see who's getting the most grade A shots. We could do that, right? We have we could actually break down and see, are the Oilers actually this year as compared to other years just not getting those grade A shots in overtime? Are they not manufacturing enough? Is there a big change in the differential, or is this just bad luck? Because it could also just be bad luck. It could be an anomaly. My sense is that the opposition teams are playing smarter in overtime. Here's 2 things that I noticed the Colorado Avalanche and other teams doing in overtime that the Oilers don't do. The other teams do pick plays, and they scored on a pick play in the winning goal. But more than that, the other teams, when they have possession in the offensive end and nothing's there, and they need a line change, or they need to just regroup, or they just want to kill some time, they take the puck back into their own zone. The Oilers are so loath to do that as a strategy. They'll try to make a play and they often turn it over because of that. All you have to do in some ways, you could just shoot it down the ice back to Jack Campbell. That could be your play. You could you're in a puck battle. I'm going to lose this puck battle. Hammer the puck down to your own end and Jack Campbell will go get it. And then you can get a line change. The Oilers never do that kind of smart play because these are just the best offensive players in the world. And they're used to creating something out of nothing. And that's what they're trying to do again and again and again. Well, maybe try to create something out of 50% of something instead of out of nothing, which is what you can do if you regroup and get organized and go on the attack, maybe suck somebody in. But those are 2 kind of trends that I see other teams doing that the Oilers aren't doing. So this is a matter of strategy, tactics, and the Oilers are getting outcoached and outplayed in overtime because of it to some extent.
Yeah, well, here's one. I mean, I've seen other goalies come out of their net on icings to play the puck so that they have possession of the puck. I mean, who needs the face-off? I mean, maybe there's an advantage if the other team's line has been out there for a long time and you can get them tired. But if the lines are relatively fresh, I'd rather have a puck than an offensive zone face-off. And in fact, that did happen in overtime today when this was during the McDavid and Draisaitl shift in the sort of the last minute, more or less, and Colorado iced the puck and it came like 2 feet away from the goal crease and Campbell let it go over the goal line for icing. And I'm thinking, just go out there and pass the puck off to one of your 3 teammates. And, I don't mind if Nurse and or whoever it was and McDavid and Draisaitl have to carry it 200 feet. In fact, I kind of like that. Gives them lots of room to shake their way free. But so that's just a little minor strategic thing. And in general, you don't see as many face-offs in overtime because, I mean, there's fewer offsides, but you also see goalies moving the puck more when it's in their glove, or you see this icing prevention play just to keep the play alive. If you've got it, live play is fine because if you've got it, you can make your change and the other team can't typically. But that's just a little detail that I thought that one play today, Campbell kind of muffed it, to tell the truth. And
that's a really astute observation. Yeah, I never thought of that, Bruce, but that's really smart. And what they could do is make a study, like assign an assistant coach, one of their assistant coaches. Jake Woodcroft is one
of the Mahi brothers might be able to handle it in his spare time.
Yeah, we could do it. I mean, well, we can't do it. We don't have access to all the video of the most successful teams in overtime. But just start to look who's having some success and see if they're doing some tactical things that are different. And I mean, I think Jeff Merrick mentioned that Jay Woodcroft is a huge fan of hardcore history. That series constantly talks about small tactics, which were difference makers in decisive moments in battles. And no surprise that Woodcroft is a fan of that show, which if you don't listen to podcasts is the world's best podcast. But this is something that he's got to do, is put his mind to it, put his team's mind to it. What are we doing wrong in overtime? And start to adhere to it. You know, we still do tend to see long shifts, you know, shifts that go over a minute. There's still McDavid he had one today. I think Draisaitl got off, but they still like to stay out that extra time instead of keeping it fresh, keeping it fast. I think that's another tactical thing, which is an error that that we continue to see in overtime. So there's probably like 4 or 5 or 6 things, and if you add them all up, maybe out of those 8 loser points, maybe you get 2 or 3 of them. Makes that big a difference.
Yeah, you nice to get at least one. I think probably your observation on the pick plays is something that they should study a little bit, because that, you know, in a 3-on-3 situation, that's everything.
Yeah,
you give a guy a little bit of opening like that. If he's Mikko Rantanen, the game is over. Well, we got Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl who should be able to end that game too if you can pick off the guy that's trying to check him.
And Zach Hyman could do it. He's a smart hockey player. Like the Oilers have smart. Evander Kane is a smart hockey player. Hyman is. Yamamoto is. There's not a shortage of players with great offensive guile on the Edmonton Oilers. It's just a matter of looking for that and making that the play instead of always trying to beat them with your finesse. I think the Oilers are trying to, like, their skill is higher than anyone else's, and they're trying to beat them with that high skill every single overtime. And the other teams are just playing it conservative, and they're not going to let that happen. They're just going to, you know, pack their own in front of the net with 3 guys and not overcommit on the attack, generally speaking. So that's how you handle the Oilers in overtime.
And hold the puck when you got it.
And hold the puck when you get it. Skate it back to your zone 2 or 3 times. You know, and then that, you know, that wears out the Oilers. They got to skate a little bit more. And every little bit of skating you do gets you a little bit more tired, even if it's not hard skating. So, all right. That was a tough one, Bruce. There's been a lot of anytime you give up a 3-goal lead, and this is against the Rangers.
2 games in a row.
2 games you'd love to win. Yeah.
4-2 going into the third. Can't hold either lead. You know, that's just not good enough.
If you hear some yelling in the background, my son has 8 teenage guys over right now, so there may be some noise. All right. I think there's 8. Feels like it. All right, Bruce. Thanks for talking tonight.
Yeah, thanks for listening, everyone.
And in the meantime, and in between times, this has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast.